Okay, so maybe things are smoothing over with China a bit on this trade war, but Russia now vowing to retaliate after the U.S. and European allies expelled dozens of Russian diplomats in what's said to be the largest collective expulsion in history. The move comes in response to the poisoning of a former Russian spy on British soil. A top Democrat on the House Foreign Affairs Committee appears to throw both praise and criticism at the administration today, saying this, quote, "The strong response to the attack in the UK makes even more bizarre the administration's weak response to Russia's ongoing attack right here in the United States." Let's talk about it with retired four-star general, chairman of the Institute for the Study of War and Fox News senior strategic analyst, General Jack Keane. Always good to see you, General.
Good to see you, Shannon.
Okay, so what do you make of this praise for the Trump administration that they're joining our allies and saying this absolutely cannot be permitted, this act on British soil? They believe is traced back to the Russians, while Democrats say, then why are you letting Putin mess with U.S. politics?
Well, I don't think we're letting Putin mess with U.S. politics. I mean, we've sanctioned him for that. To the case at hand here, in terms of throwing out the diplomats, listen, we have a history of having done this with the Soviet Union in the past. It has never, ever changed aggressive behavior. All that said, though, 20-plus countries coming together, all acting together, which was a use of WMD on foreign soil, trying to kill a British citizen and his daughter, and exposing other British citizens to this. Everyone takes that seriously. And what I'm hoping is it thickens the spine of these weak European leaders who have not been willing to stand up to Russian aggression in the past. In fact, the United States is involved, certainly, is commendable. And I also think Putin, what's happening to him, 18 years in power, 6 more, he just got as a result of the election. He really wants to be in power indefinitely like President Xi. And what normally happens with these dictators, the longer they stay in power, the more aggressive they get, the more ambitious they get, the more violent they get, and the more paranoid they get. And I believe all of that's happening to Putin. And I also think what's happening to him, he's coming to the realization that we do have a different president here than what we've had in the past. Because what the president has done against the Syrians in the chemical attack, Russia's client state, lethal aid to the Ukrainians, putting more troops into Europe, sanctioning the Russians as a result of meddling in the elections, and now this. There's a pattern there that the president is moving, not just dealing with a competitor like Russia, but willing to confront Russia. He would also like the Russians to cooperate with us. But we're not going to get that in the near term.
Well, and I point to this tweet by the Russian embassy here in the U.S. today, getting a little cheeky with this whole thing, saying U.S. administration ordered the closure of the Russian consulate in Seattle. What U.S. consulate general would you close in Russia if it was up to you to decide? And then they have a poll there, a Twitter poll, saying which one should we close down? I mean, they've said today we will retaliate. Does it go beyond them kicking out some of our diplomats now?
Yeah, it's pretty much the same thing that happens every time. The reciprocation will be like number of diplomats and spies, and obviously we have spies in Russia that are undercover working out of our embassies, and also a consulate or two they'll shut down, or some other facility that we're using that may not be a consulate. There'll be reciprocation, but it will not deter Putin from the path he's on. Listen, he's made a move into the Middle East. He's trying to be the most influential nation in the Middle East, replacing the United States. This aggression is obvious. He's aligned himself with the Iranians. And it's only going to be when we're actually willing to put force in front of him and let him see some of that, like more troops into Europe and standing up even more so for the Ukrainians. And then finally, financially, going after Putin and the cronies around him. That starts to get at him. And also impact him economically, particularly with liquid natural gas. I mean, the Europeans depend on Russia. Let's replace that dependence with the capability we've got. And then you start hitting him in his pocketbook. He's got a one commodity economy. It's oil and gas. And we reduce that, he'll have some problems.
Yeah, pain for him and the oligarchs would probably translate into a different response. We'll see. General, always great to have your expertise with us. Thanks for coming in.